Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Wolverine number 8. But before that, let's look at Wolverine number 7. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be looking at Wolverine number 7 and 8 with my special guest, Paul Morris. You guys know him from Instagram. I'll have his bio linked below. How you doing, Paul?
Doing good, brother. How's it going?
I'm having a blast, ready to dive into some Wolverine, some classic Wolverine.
Yes, sir.
When did you get these issues? Like, what do you remember about picking these up back in the day?
These were definitely, well, I won't say off the rack because these weren't bought at a newsstand or a store. These were, I used to go to a comic book shop in downtown Providence. So these I would have bought when they were coming out. So 1989, I think.
Yeah, that's what we determined, 1989.
Yeah, spring of 89. So I was a junior in high school.
You got a couple of years on me, but I bought these at a comic shop too. Probably had just been going to a comic shop for less than a year when these came out. But I was collecting Hulk at the time. I was collecting Wolverine too. So when this landed, I mean, this just set my pre-teenage brain on fire. Like two of my favorite books, crossing over of sorts.
Absolutely.
So this is not the iconic cover, right? But the story starts with this one. Most people look at the next issue's cover as like the one. And in fact, I'm looking at this on the iPad because that second cover is gone through the roof recently. I don't know if it's like, Patch makes a cameo in a recent movie or what's causing it to just be more than I want to pay for a raw original copy at that right now. So we're doing an iPad overhead. You got your originals. We're going to dive into it. What do you think about this cover?
Well, it's definitely a busy cover. I mean, it's pretty cool. It almost looks, honestly, like it was like one of those panels from inside the book that they then used for the cover. Just because there's so many figures on it, I just think because the next cover is so much. I mean, I do prefer number 8's cover as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one's cool, but it's, like I said, it just looks more almost like an action, like a splash page or something, like getting ready for a big battle.
I could see that. Were you a fan of John Buscema when this came out, or were you just collecting Wolverine and not really paying attention to like who was the artist?
I mean, I definitely knew who he was just because even at this stage of the game, I was picking up some Silver Age books, Avengers primarily. I was not a Conan fan, so I did not see his work there. And then right before this, in like the mid-'80s, he was doing the Avengers again. So I knew his art. And then I believe Marvel Comics Presents started right before this series started. And he did the first like 10 or 15 issues of that series as well. So I was definitely familiar with his art, and I think he does a great Wolverine. It was like, especially for this series, like the setting, kind of Southeast Asia, the jungle setting. I don't know. He was like perfect for this series.
Yeah, I did not really pay attention to the artist so much on when these came out. I was just all about Wolverine. I was paying attention to McFarlane because he had been the Hulk artist that kind of brought me in, but it wasn't until years later that I discovered John Buscema and his legacy, and then reflected back on him being the Wolverine artist that like it kind of clicked for me. Like, oh wow, the guy that did Silver Surfer was doing Wolverine when I was buying it brand new and stuff. And it just kind of blew my mind to have that revelation when it all clicked years down.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I grew to. Like I said, I knew who he was at this point. I probably didn't quite acknowledge the legend that he was at this stage in my teenage years. I definitely in later years, I started to realize, what a legend this guy was.
But I do kind of agree with you on this cover. It's kind of busy. And then, of course, when you bought this new, you didn't know what was going to be on the next one. But now we do with hindsight. Second cover, it's iconic, right? Let's dive into it. Rereading these, I did read Wolverine like maybe 1, 2, 3, kind of recently, but diving into this one, other than this like Hulk part at the beginning, it's kind of a jumbled mess. I felt like story wise.
it was definitely like, how can we get these two characters to kind of interact, and we'll just build a story around that.
Yeah, I do love this opening page with the Hulk here. I think Buscema does great, showing his size too. I don't know if you've watched any of my recent videos where I'm talking about Jeff Purvis is doing Hulk at this point, and I like Purvis, but he gets size wrong sometimes, and he makes the Hulk look too short, in my opinion. But Buscema definitely knows the Hulk. He knows how to do, a big, imposing, heavy-looking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think he probably hadn't previously drawn a lot of Hulk. I can't remember anything. Hulk wasn't on the Avengers when he was drawing the team, or I guess drawing Conan, he kind of got to draw kind of, I guess, bigger guys and maybe stuff. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has got the size right. He looks massive on this splash page.
Yeah,
I don't know where he got that suit custom made.
The one that stands out to me of the Hulk that he did is FF112. Of course, I didn't know that at this time.
That's
either.
true.
But looking back, and I love how he does the Hulk in that. You're right though. I mean, I don't think he did like a run of Hulk at any point. Maybe he did some covers.
His brother certainly did, but
yeah, Sal was all over Hulk.
Yeah, I don't know if John did much Hulk. Maybe some of the Hulk magazine stories or something, but
maybe. Yeah, he did. He definitely did some covers on that one for sure.
Yeah.
So the story is going like the Hulk, as Joe Fixit, he's a bouncer for a casino owner in Las Vegas. He's not a mob enforcer. That gets misrepresented quite often. I think when people talk about Joe Fixit, they act like he worked for the mob. No, he was more or less a bouncer, a bodyguard for a legit businessman casino owner. However, that casino owner, I guess, owes a favor to some kind of mob person. And so he sends Joe Fixit in to help with it. And like you said, it's more or less like a how can we get these two characters together kind of plot.
Yeah, kind of rereading it now because I don't really remember. I guess my memory was probably different. I didn't realize Joe Fixit was so, agreeable to being loaned out and stuff. I think if you had asked me off the top without rereading this, I would have been like, nah, he wouldn't have. I don't think he would have just been manipulated that way to go help somebody, or but apparently back then he was. I think who he's working for owed this gentleman, so he kind of loaned his services to him as like payment.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't know that the Hulk would necessarily just go along with whatever, but he did like the guy he was working for, so maybe he was just like whatever. But also, Chris Claremont's writing this, not Peter David, so we're getting Chris Claremont's idea of how this is going to go down, not Peter David's.
Yeah.
But I like this panel at the bottom of the Hulk holding the little wine glass or whatever they're drinking, and it's like tiny in his hands.
It's got very nice control there to not crush the thing, and it's in between his fingers. Yeah, he is massive though. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's good to see the Hulk being so imposing like that.
And then we jump into Wolverine, whatever's been going on with his story at this point. This is where I kind of felt a little confused, even though, like I said, I did read like 1, 2, 3. It's been a little while since I've read those, but not too long. The whole Madripoor stuff with all these various characters I felt a little lost.
Yeah, there's Claremont kind of the first, I guess, 10 issues of that series, or 9 maybe, it was very kind of jumbled. It more or less revolved around like a battle for the throne of power with the prince, Tiger, I think it was her name. Wolverine kind of playing both sides, and sometimes he's their ally, sometimes he was against them, depending on the circumstances, which actually comes into play in this 2-part story. But a little bit of a jumbled mess. I mean, it was kind of like you didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, so I like, is it issue 6 that has the like cover with Wolverine with the roundhouse?
Yeah, rough house and blood scream, I think.
Yeah. So I guess that just happened right before this because they're laid out on the floor there, and the prince of Madripoor is just come in to stop them all. And you've got this General Coy, and there's Tiger wearing this like armor. Jessica Drew, the Spider Woman, not looking like Spider Woman. Is this Karma from the New Mutants? Is that who that's supposed to be?
I think so, because I think General Coy is like her uncle, maybe.
And then this, what's her name? McCabe, Lindsay McCabe. Was that
Lindsay
her name?
McCabe, yep.
Yeah.
Who I think was Jessica Drew's partner, I believe. They were like private eyes or something, I think.
Yeah. So it's an odd time. I do love the Wolverine in the black suit. I like the patch costume. I've always, maybe it's because I was buying this new when it came out. And I have like strong nostalgia for it. I mean, it's not the classic, yellow and blue or the brown at all, but like I do like the black costume of Wolverine from this era.
Yeah, it was definitely a good look. I mean, I never quite understood the veil thing. Initially, I just thought it was like shadowing, but I
Yeah.
guess it was almost supposed to be some kind of like mask. It still never really was clear to me what that was.
Yeah.
But
It's almost like, I don't know if it was something he was putting on or if it was like makeup, like eye black stuff,
Yeah.
or something like that.
But he just always happened to have like his eyes like just into shadow enough or something, and it's like in retrospect, it's kind of like, well, who still wouldn't know that that's Wolverine though?
Right.
I know he was supposed to technically be dead at that point, but
yeah, that was a big thing. So, and it's like he was always hesitant to pop his claws so that he wouldn't be recognized,
Yeah, exactly. He had to use a lot of restraint back then.
So then we're just going to kind of get the like ongoing plot of Wolverine's, like we were just saying, the General Koi, the Prince of Madripoor. He comes in and stops whatever was happening here. He's real taken by Lindsay McCabe. Apparently she was an actress and he's a big fan of hers. And then he puts them up for the night or something in the palace while they negotiate their plans or whatever, their differences, I guess. And that's pretty much all that's going on there. And then it cuts back to Joe Fixit. He's getting a ride to the airport. And some motorcycle guys roll up on his chauffeur, who's just like an attractive woman. That kind of confused me here because I thought it was Lindsay McCabe again. I was like, what is going on here with this like woman all of a sudden?
Yeah, even rereading that, recently, it was initially threw me off for a second. Like, is that Lindsay McCabe? Would he make her put this like outfit on? It was like threw me off for a second. But
yeah. So you kind of get like an amusing scene here of them accosting her, and Joe Fixit steps out of the limo, and that pretty much ends it. I think he lift them up here, or he smashes all their bikes.
He does let him off the hook at the end. It looks like he's gonna like squeeze his head, pop it like a pimple or a zit, I believe he says.
He just, like you said, he kind of lets him off the hook.
Right there. It looks like he's just gonna like squeeze his head like a grape, but I guess
right there. I guess I can say like that too. Yeah, that's a cool panel too. And again, like you get that size on the Hulk. Like his hand is so big that the guy's head just completely fits inside it, right?
That is crazy.
But then there's like an amusing part here where I guess they pop the tires or something on the limo he was in. So he hops on this motorcycle and rides off.
That bike was struggling carrying him, I'm guessing.
I would think so. I wouldn't think the weight of it would even I would think it would just crush. So there's a little bit of humor going on, I feel like, with trying to get Joe Fixit. Well, this whole story has quite a bit of humor, actually, I think.
It is. It does. And especially the next issue, I feel like really kind of ramps it up. The interplay between Wolverine and him.
But definitely is kind of setting some of that up. Then we get back to the stuff going on with Koi and Tiger, who's in this. For a second when I was reading this, I was like, is this Madam Mask?
Yep. Nope. Same thing I thought. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to go back and read issue 6, I guess, because this doesn't really explain how she ended up in this suit.
Just jumping into issue number 7 did not work for me really at all. I'm glad as a kid I was reading this as it came out one at a time, because I probably would have been like, what is going on in this Wolverine series? So I guess it kind of mentions here, it's like she's trapped in it, but Wolverine commissioned it, so he's able to take it off of her. And then they talk about like their what's going on with like she's like kind of a crime lord, but I don't quite understand that aspect of it either.
Yeah, that like I said earlier, I mean, that series, more or less, the early issues all focused on this like struggle for the power to be the crime lord ruler of Madripoor. So she was definitely a major player, and he was more or less helping her. But I think right here he explains to her that I think she should like back down or step aside or something. And she's kind of like upset that he's not really backing her up. But I think he more or less explains to her it's kind of the smart play to just, basically back down for right now. We don't really have any leverage. So,
yeah, take some kind of deal that the prince was offering to like, to have like two crime lords between her and Coy at odds, as opposed to one of them having like a monopoly of it or something. Yeah, it was a little too heavy. And I mean, really, we're here for one thing, right? We want to see the Hulk and Wolverine get together. So here again, like you got like these guys at the airport, they're handling the Hulk's luggage. They say something about like, this is for Joe Fixit. Don't say that name out loud. I thought that was kind of funny in a way, because then you got the Hulk getting on the plane and he's like, again, we're going with a little bit of humor here. He's like denting up the plane as he walks across it. So the guy's like, I'll handle it real gently. Back to Madripoor, and they're doing their thing again. Yeah, this is kind of yada yada. Okay, this part was funny where he takes Lindsay McCabe in to see his shrine to her that he has.
Oh yeah,
which was pretty creepy.
Definitely creepy. Just a weird thing too that he was like a big fan of hers. It just seemed like kind of came out of nowhere.
And not just like, oh, I have like your movies on like film or whatever. I have a whole room with statues of your stuff. It's like pretty over the top. Here's this prince. And then she kind of goes through all the roles she's been in. And again, this was like yada yada. All right, so here's the part with Karma. And Roughhouse is his name? Roughhouse, right? Yeah, he comes in and is been drinking, and I guess he's got bad intentions. And thankfully, Wolverine pops in to slammo him right away.
Slammo.
And let's see. Okay, I like this POW panel right here too a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty cool using the actual like letters of the word to kind of make a panel out of it. It's definitely pretty cool.
I gotta think that's like, usually the letterers doing that stuff, but I think that was probably a Buscema choice. And then finally we get to the airport where Joe Fixit has arrived, and he's the guy's struggling with all his luggage, so the Hulk just picks him up, all of them. He kind of draws the Hulk with the suit on like the Kingpin, I feel like.
Definitely, yeah. He's kind of got that. He looks a little round in the midsection, which, and plus with the suit and the hat, yeah, he's definitely got that gangster Kingpin look.
Yeah.
How do you feel that matches up? Because I know obviously you're well read and versed in the Joe Fixit Hulk issues. I was buying them back then, but I don't have a good recollection of them. Does this version visually match up with kind of what was going on actually in the Hulk books, or?
Yeah, he was wearing suits like this, and he didn't wear a hat as much as people think. I think this is probably where he wears the hat the most. Mm-hmm. But he would wear suits. Of course, usually they always ended up getting ripped and like torn off by whatever he was doing. So, but they didn't really draw him. I mean, I guess they would have it because a lot of times he'd have on like a long jacket too, or a long coat, so he wouldn't look super muscular through the suit. So yeah, I would say this lines up pretty well, and he does give him the big brow, like McFarlane.
Yeah, seriously,
kind of an almost ape-like brow. So the Hulk carried his own luggage out, and the guy asked for a tip, and the Hulk is kind of like, nope, I'm not giving you a tip. I did all the work. And the dummy pulls out a gun to shoot him in the face, because that's how things work there in Madripoor. Just right in the airport.
Yeah, it's pretty violent place, but that was definitely a poor decision.
And then we got this is where the cover comes into play, right? So then these other like people show up, and I guess they were called in because they knew this guy was coming. This Joe Fixit was coming. I don't even know exactly what he's coming for. He's coming to work for Coy, I guess, but Wolverine intercepts it. And Wolverine spots him and knows he's the Hulk right away. He smells him, and he's aware, like, oh, I get it now. This Joe Fixit guy, it's the Hulk. And he's like, he's supposed to be dead, but then again, I guess so am I.
Yeah, and actually, and this is not long after they fought each other in Hulk 340.
Yeah, and that's one thing about this that because
it doesn't make any reference to that, does it? Unless I missed it. But
no, it doesn't. And the fact it says right here is like, what does he say? No matter, I never forget a scent or a face, even if it's gray instead of green. Fighting style confirms it. So it is almost like, it's like, yeah, you fought the Gray Hulk, I guess
like
time-wise,
earlier,
a year ago. Yeah, about a year ago. So, it's like they don't reference that at all. But I will say, as we get into this story, it's like that Hulk 340 issue is just a brawl between the two of them. Probably one of the best that the two have had. And in this, you're like, kind of like, all right, we're going to get that again this time. And we don't. Instead, we kind of get like buddy cop story.
Yeah, I was going to say a lot of jokes, and it was like Beverly Hills Cop or something.
Yeah. Wolverine steps in to kind of help from like the sidelines. And the thing is, I don't think the Hulk ever realizes this is Wolverine, because if you think about it, he's never really seen Wolverine without his mask on. If they've only met once, and then they met in that Hulk 340, but Wolverine had his mask on the whole time in that too. So
actually, it makes me think of something. So when, again, I'd have to go back and kind of dig into those books and kind of reread them, I guess. But when Hulk became the Joe Fixit kind of side of him came out of Banner, does he remember the Hulks? Like, does he have the Hulk's memories? Would he have remembered that they just fought like a year ago?
Yeah, the Hulk had all his memories. So what happened there is, like, there was the Ground Zero story, the McFarlane era, where a gamma bomb went off, and it appeared like the Hulk died in it. But what really happened is the Hulk got taken to the micro world of Jarella, and right before the bomb went off. So he knew everything that was going on, and they did something to him that prevented Banner from coming out for a while. So that's why when he returned back to Earth and he landed in Nevada, and that Berengetti guy found him and gave him a job as the enforcer or the bouncer or whatever, bodyguard. And so he knew everything that happened. In fact, he references early on, like, I want to kill the leader for what he did. But then he was like, just kind of happy with his like place in Las Vegas. He had a good life. The guy would put him in a pit, gave him nice clothes, like, fed him well,
living well at that point.
Yeah, Banner wasn't around. Now Banner had just reappeared right before this, so we're going to see that coming up here soon. These panels confused me too. In fact, my son was like looking over my shoulder where I was reading it. So Wolverine pops his claws here. I like how it's like kind of pushing up on his face. I always thought his claws were so sharp that even that would cut.
I know, you would think that would be cutting he'd be getting some serious rhinoplasty going on right now.
But then it, like, because my son was watching, he's like, did Wolverine kill that guy? And I thought maybe popped his claw or like put his claws back in, but really I think he's hitting with the other fist.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's gave him a body blow, or he's calling him chump. That's a weird sound effect.
So I think he only has his claws out here on that hand, and it's this hand that I think he punches him with. So
yeah, it's kind of a left to the gut.
So anyway, let's see. Somebody throws a grenade. I just think it's funny that all this is going on at the airport. So somebody throws a grenade. The Hulk picks it up, just squeezes it with his hand. Another great panel there. And then I think that's when they realize they're out of their league, and the ones that are still standing just kind of skedaddle. And then we get the wrap up. So the Hulk says, like, take me back to the hotel. Or like, you're going to give me a ride. take me to the hotel and get me there before dawn, because the Hulk was changing banner. Before, in daytime, he was Banner. Nighttime, he was the Hulk. And so you get this panel of him in this suit.
Yeah, that's like Beetlejuice or something. It's a pretty cool image.
And Wolverine was waiting around. I like that panel too, of him like lighting up his cigar and coming to the conclusion, like, all right, so now Wolverine kind of understands. Okay, Bruce Banner by day, Hulk by night. Must have given him some tranquilizers or something, so he'd like sleep through the day. So they do kind of take a shortcut to like we don't even want Banner in this story. But,
but we got one panel, but
got to acknowledge that he does exist, but just kind of get him out of there. So then we get to the iconic cover.
Yes.
And this is the one that made it hard for me to get some original copies of this, because I don't have my ones I bought off the shelf so many years ago. Something to notice on this panel, I think, or this particular issue, there's not a box where the UPC would go. I guess if it's newsstand, they must have just slapped one on. There's no place.
That is true. Oh, actually, you know what? So just looking at my original copy here, on the back cover, it has the.
Because it had the pinup on the back, or the gallery edition on the back cover. That makes sense.
Now I'm curious, do they all have them on the back cover or the front? I'll have to check later, but that's a cool. The image is just cool on the cover. I mean, it's obviously, like we said, kind of classic, but that, again, a great illustration of like just the size difference.
Yeah, you definitely see a short Wolverine, but I mean, anybody should look kind of short next to the Hulk, but even like even shorter than, I would say, like, Spider-Man would probably be a little closer to his shoulder or something. But I do remember this coming out and just being like kind of like blown away by this image too, like how cool it was to see them like kind of chilling together and like dressed up
tuxedos on. Yeah, definitely
iconic cover. They, like, we talked about it before we started recording, there's a new like toy set out there for it, and both of us were like, that's a pretty cool set, but it's a little pricey too.
Yeah, it's pricey like this book is now. Like you were saying, it's not a cheap book to find anymore. I mean, it's easy to find, it's just not cheap to find.
Easy to find. You know what it's hard to find as, though? Raw. It's a hard one to find raw. Everybody slabs this book, and that makes it pricier for stupid reasons, right?
Yeah. A waste of money on plastic that I'm just going to break it out of anyway. So it sucks.
Exactly. I love the blue, the yellow lettering, with the back drop shadow. Even the corner box has like a cool classic cover is perfection. I get why it's kind of pricey, but not really as pricey as it is. Because, like you said, there are so many copies of this, so whatever. The market dictates what the price is, I guess.
This is true.
All right, jump into it, and the Hulk is pissed off.
That must be one big towel. I mean, it might be like a sheet he's wearing.
Yeah, the hotel towels are probably not making their way around here. But even still, Buscema doing a great job again, too. You really see like the power in his feet, and like the way like his muscles and stuff are like moving.
It's pretty cool. There's no inker on these issues either. It's like pretty much guessing drawn and inked and everything by Buscema. So you're getting his vision. I mean, at this point in his career, I mean, he'd been in comics probably for at least 30 years.
Yeah, you could probably draw and ink it pretty quickly. I wonder how many books a month he was doing time, because, like you said, he was doing at least a few pages of Marvel Comics Presents. Was he doing it at this point?
He might have still been. He did Avengers up to almost 300. So I just have to. I'm not sure when Avengers 300. I feel like it was probably before this, though.
Okay.
But that was actually a great run. Roger Stern was writing it with the Buscema, and Tom Palmer inks. So that was definitely good stuff.
So the Hulk is pretty irritated because he wakes up and all of his luggage has ripped purple pants. I remember getting a chuckle out of that even as a kid reading it. We know who you are. Get out of town. Pretty good gag. Wolverine the prankster. Never really took him as a barrel of laughs kind of guy.
Yeah, he definitely loosens up in this issue, though.
Yeah. Wolverine enjoys all of the stuff he does to the Hulk in this one. He did take quite the beating in Hulk 340, so I guess this is his little bit of revenge. Yeah,
it would have been good if he referenced that at some point,
yeah,
hey, payback,
yeah, because like you said, in real time, it was just about a year ago. So I don't know why they didn't reference that, but this is where we get our patch scene, and spoiler for anybody that's seen Deadpool. You've seen Deadpool, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay, so it's not. We're seeing Patch in the Deadpool movie for anybody. I mean, it's by the time this comes out, it's going to be well past the spoiler territory. But it was pretty much that, Yeah,
it was a very brief, kind of quick image.
Yeah,
it's a cool look. I mean, Wolverine's got again, the eye patch is like Clark Kent putting glasses on. Really, you still don't recognize that this is this person.
It's even cornier when you think he has that iconic hair and sideburns.
Yeah, it's pretty unique look.
I mean, you can't hide that, Anybody that's seen him without his mask on would be like, "Hey, what happened to your eye, Wolverine? I thought you have a healing factor, right?"
I know. Why would you need an eye patch? Yeah.
All right, so then the Hulk, he must have gone to the tailor and got a new suit, and he's pretty irritated about the whole purple pants situation. And Wolverine is this is his narration, all these narration boxes of Wolverine, kind of telling the story and laughing to himself about it and talking about the tailor and stuff that he probably visited. And then he's like, "I'm looking for Patch." And then he's like, "I'm Patch." So I don't know why they colored Wolverine's jacket that color, though, in this. It's on the cover, he had the white jacket.
Yeah, they both got the white with the dark pants. And it looks like Hulk's pants. Well, I guess they kind of colored it a little bit. But
yeah, I think that's Shadow, though. He's mostly wearing the all white.
Looks like it's all white, right? It's definitely Kingpin-esque.
Yeah. So then they decide to, kind of get together to do whatever it is the Hulk is there to do. But I think the Hulk doesn't understand that this is not who he's supposed to be hooking up with. But I guess because they met up at the airport, he was coming back to look for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then more humor with the Hulk getting splashed on the road, which irritates him, and he goes and crushes this truck, which I guess is oil in it.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of tanker truck or something.
I was trying to determine what it was that turned his clothes purple. His white suit is now turned purple. Also, covered in brown muck at the same time. And I like this panel a lot, too, of Wolverine just lighting his cigarette with the Hulk highly irritated behind him, right?
Yeah, he's not really paying him much mind.
Yeah.
Just totally probably infuriating Hulk more.
Yeah. For sure. And then all they can find is purple pants again. So we're back to purple pants and shirtless.
Yeah, he's looking a little more Hulk-like now.
Yeah.
Not quite as refined as Mr. Fixit.
Not at all. And Wolverine just doing it on purpose, and the Hulk kind of knowing it. But, the Hulk hasn't, taken it out on Patch yet. I guess he feels like he needs Patch to accomplish whatever he's there to do.
Mm.
I like that panel of the Hulk's face as well. I like zooming in on these little small panels. That's kind of fun.
That's definitely a nice benefit of doing it on the iPad.
Yeah. So they uncover it looks like a sex trafficking, I guess. What's going on here?
In Lowtown, anything goes. I'm probably not surprised.
Yeah, it's a bunch of women in cages. And so I guess Patch knew this was going on, and he's kind of using the Hulk like his hammer right now. The Hulk wasn't there to do that, but he seems to be pretty irritated by the whole.
Again, kind of got manipulated into doing something that's, I'm not sure if I would have believed that beforehand that he would allow that to happen to him, but he's, like you said, he's kind of just getting used for Patch's purposes now.
Yeah, even though he's supposed to be there to help Coy. So Patch gets kind of, but I think in here Wolverine mentions like I could pop my claws and take these guys out quick, but that would give away who I am because my hair doesn't already do that.
Exactly.
So he gets kind of dispatched, or lets himself kind of get dispatched, but he also knows the Hulk is right there to come in, and I like the punch on the face there too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And these guys, they learn quick that it's not worth it. The Hulk is just standing there, totally unfazed while they're grabbing their hands, and then he just walks them on the head like they're the Three Stooges or something. Great panels here. I wonder if Buscema realized that the Hulk was green, or the Hulk was gray when he was drawing this, because he's just got to draw it like this is just straight up the Hulk, how he would draw the green Hulk.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's good. Especially, I mean, these panels, maybe it even is more like apparent because he's actually got the purple pants. But yeah, I mean, he definitely just looks like that, which is cool because the hairstyle he kind of gives him is like that very early Hulk appearances, early 60s hairstyle.
Yeah, that's what I mean, McFarlane did that too, where it was just like on the top of his head, kind of.
Yeah.
My son, that's a big Hulk fan. That's his favorite hair. Like he has one of those Marvel Legends figures. He says it's his favorite figure, except he's has too much of a full head of hair. He's like, I like it when it's hair just on the top.
He's got that Herb Trimpe or Sal Buscema hairstyle. He's kind of had like that. What we used to call that when I was a kid, the Dutch boy haircut. We all had that same kind of floppy 70s hair.
Yeah, I mean it's like the 70s like kind of shaggy haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the Hulk and Patch here, they break out the women from this ring, and this is where the Hulk, I think he starts kind of realizing that he's being used a little bit, maybe, or no. I guess this is the slaver or whatever he is, and the Hulk, to the Hulk's credit, he's not down for that. The Hulk is kind of anti-hero to some degree, but he's not down for trading women as slaves.
Yeah, abusing women or anybody at that point. I mean, he's definitely not cool with that.
So then another day passes here, and the Hulk thinks he's getting taken care of, but then he sees like the hand is Banner's hand, and again we're just Banner's reflection in the glass, and then the Hulk wakes up. Another tease by Wolverine here of taking care of the Hulk and like lavishing him with luxury, but instead it's Banner that gets the fun part, and the Hulk wakes up in ripped pajamas.
Wolverine definitely was pulling a lot of gags on him in this issue.
Yeah. So the girls come back in and they're bringing him some fresh clothes, but it's the Hulk that's there, and they get scared and run out. And he's like, "Wait a minute, hold on!" And then there's Patch, like, "Hey, did you have a good day?" Like pretending like he doesn't know, like what's going on. So I do love the gags that Wolverine is playing in this, and it's a different story than just another. It's like, oh well, let's get them together and just have them like completely throw down. When we did just see that a year ago in the other title, but in this one we're gonna like kind of turn it on its head, and instead we're gonna have Wolverine just messing with the Hulk, like mentally messing with the Hulk for the whole issue.
Yeah, it's such like a vastly different story than that previous appearance, but it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, even with all the Madripoor convoluted weirdness going on. So then, is this the Prince's place they're returning to, or is this Coy's place? I think it's Coy's place.
It might be Coy's place. That's where the Hulk. Yeah, I think that's where they were earlier.
Yeah, so they go in, and I like this because Wolverine keeps messing with him. He's telling him to go in first into this place, and he's like, why do you want me to go in first? Like, let's just say I like my suit the way it is. So he does go in first, but then he still tricks the Hulk by like going downstairs. So the Hulk tricks it, and then Wolverine cuts the balcony out from underneath him. I like that panel too. Anytime Wolverine's like lighting up his cigarette, which he lights up quite a few throughout the
Say,
story.
man, he's a couple packs a day at this point. He's putting that healing factor to the test.
This feels very Frank Miller-y to me.
Mm.
Frank Miller like that, light a cigarette and have a light
Yeah,
shine
it'd be
on
like
it.
that yellowy kind of lighting on him.
I guess he just does this to mess with the Hulk because he knows the Hulk will just come back. But even okay, and I like this too. Snicked, he's like, he says, "I know that sound."
It's time to ring a bell with him.
Yeah, but then he falls. And he lands on their like drug operation. So Wolverine planned that pretty well.
Yeah, he's kind of taking out all of his issues with using the Hulk as a kind of his battering ram, and anything he wanted to clean up in Madripoor, he's kind of handling it on this one day.
Yeah. The drug lords and stuff come rushing in, or the drug flunkies, I guess. Oh no, these are robots or something. Don't they call them man bots? Yeah, because he starts tearing them apart, and they're like coming apart. Like,
yeah, they definitely were like some kind of androids or robots or something.
So the Hulk tears them apart. Another good single panel here. I like the inking on this panel as well with the smoke.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry about the suit. And that pretty much wraps up like I guess their interaction. Some good dialogue here between Wolverine and the Hulk. But anytime it's like this stuff started with Coy, it was kind of a slug to read, I felt like.
Yeah, well, as we know, Claremont can be quite wordy. So
yeah. And then the Hulk finally gets a punch in on Patch. He's had enough of Patch. And he's telling him to basically like leave town now. And so he decides he will. And then Patch gets one last gag in on him. The Hulk wants to be on a plane where it's going west. So it's nighttime the whole way back. And he gets to stay the Hulk. Wolverine's like, yep, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And then these people come in and say, we're looking for the eastbound plane. And he's like, oh, somebody must have switched the signs. And then they said, this going to see a beautiful sunrise coming up. As the Hulk yells, Patch.
Yeah. Yeah, he got him good one last time.
And then we get this awesome Liefeld picture on the back, right?
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Like we discussed earlier, pre-show that for all the kind of hate and everything he kind of gets now. I was a pretty big fan of his art at this time, so this back cover was definitely pretty cool to me.
I think it's still a pretty cool layout. I like the ninjas around him, which the hand. The only thing I don't love about it is that all the arrows are stuck in one shoulder. If you're going to stick a bunch of arrows, spread them out a little bit. But other than that, I mean, for a Liefeld picture, I mean, there's solid feet in it, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, that was probably right up his wheelhouse, doing pin-ups and like covers, It was kind of some of the other things that he would say he would struggle with, I guess, would be, maybe panel-to-panel action and kind of storytelling. But as far as just like a flat, kind of two-dimensional image, he could usually knock those out of the park back then.
Well, what's your overall opinion? Where would you put this in like the Hulk Wolverine battles or like the meetups? Like where would you put this in as like a kind of a ranking?
Honestly, I'd probably put it in like it's I guess it's regular chronological order, right? Because by my count, this should be like more or less their third kind of face off.
Yep.
I would probably put obviously the original, Hulk 180, 181, Hulk 340, only because that story features a lot more action, like these two going against each other. Where this one, other than when the Hulk kind of slaps him at the end, I mean, they're not really facing off against each other in this these stories. So, but it's still fun. It's great, but it's kind of hard to beat the the Hulk 180, 181, and Hulk 340. Those are two kind of classic stories.
Yeah, you kind of want them to fight. That's kind of like what they do. But I
Especially
think
with the
that,
tuxes on, it would have been cool to watch them kind of just really throw down.
yeah, I think, but in the end, I think this is like a fun, different take on the dynamic between the two characters. And
Mm-hmm.
even going forward, even though we do get more Hulk Wolverine fights like in the future, the two characters kind of become more intertwined, like they are kind of frenemies, like,
Mm-hmm.
like even going into the Infinity Gauntlet or something, where they're up on the roof together, away from the rest of the group, and I think Adam Warlock comes and like talks to him and stuff, but they kind of have a heart to heart, like, and that was the Professor Hulk even at the time.
Yeah, that's true. During Infinity Gauntlet would have been Professor Hulk. So that's cool though. I mean, they kind of did touch base and kind of interact with each other. I mean, I guess Wolverine's been mostly the same, but Hulk's kind of going through a few different phases, especially at this point in time. And they still kind of still pretty cool to see them kind of interact with each other.
Yeah, it's always a fun meetup. Just the history between them is pretty strong, and like, for Hulk rivals, you think like the Thing being kind of probably his biggest rival, but Wolverine like pretty much right up there, I think too, because I mean, as popular as Wolverine becomes, he does first appear as a Hulk antagonist. He's not a villain, but he's a Hulk antagonist. His first appearance, and Wolverine goes on to become the most popular X-Man ever.
Yeah, and it was kind of, I mean, I guess in retrospect, kind of, so you're talking 1974 until, I guess, Hulk 340 was 1988 maybe, so it took quite a few years to get them back together.
Yeah, well, a long time. But then there's just a year after that to get to this.
Yeah, I think throughout the 90s they had a few more encounters. I don't really remember. I'd have to reread it. I know in that later, when they kind of rebooted the Hulk title in the late 90s, I think it's Hulk number 8 has a Wolverine. Mm-hmm. I think that's Bone Claw Wolverine actually kind of crossover. Which
there's a Marvel fanfare reboot too that has a Wolverine Hulk with Bone Claw Wolverine, and then when Wolverine finally gets his adamantium back, I think they pit him against the Hulk in that one too, don't they?
Oh yeah, yep, Wolverine 145. Yeah, I think he does show up in that issue.
Yeah, so they'll meet several more times, but this is one of the more quirky ones, I think, and has one of the iconic covers of the top 3, which is like you said, 181, 340, Hulk 340, and then this. So. And this is the first time the Hulk appears in Wolverine's title. Every other time they've met has been in the Hulk.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for joining me. Got anything else you want to mention about this story or Wolverine in general?
I mean, just Wolverine's my favorite character. I love this series overall. These 2 issues were almost kind of like almost like a little bit of a sidebar. I mean, they did throw in some of the kind of Madripoor power struggle dynamic, with the characters, but it was mostly to get these 2 characters together and, kind of clown around and, just, more or less get into some, various situations, but not really, not anything too deep or heavy lifting. So, so overall, I love this series. I love the John Buscema art. I mean, he's actually just as an aside, this series going forward, John Byrne is probably like my favorite creator ever. And starting in issue 17, he takes over this title. And I had such high hopes, and I was so pumped when that series came out. And it was kind of, I mean, it was okay after that, but not quite. I think it has Klaus Janson inking Byrne, and it just was like a bad kind of combo in my opinion. So, but as far as these 2 issues, man, they're definitely some of my favorite from this early part of this series.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the first 10 of this are like the Buscema art through this is like, you look back on it, and I don't think it's Buscema's best art. Like, I mean, I think these 2 issues are great, but even like the whole number 1 through. It's not his best work, but it
Hmm.
fits the story. I think, like you said, like the Madripoor, the Southeast Asian setting. He's up against like kind of guerrilla militants
Yeah.
and those kind of things that it works. And there's a roughness to it that reminds me of like Joe Kubert kind of in a way, like just the way his
Hmm.
figures and stuff are drawn in it. And maybe it's that kind of pseudo military look of a lot of the people that Wolverine has to fight.
Yeah, even some of these background guys on the cover of number 7, they look like they could almost be like right off like a Conan cover. They just look like they're kind of just random kind of, like this guy's got a baseball bat, this other guy's got I don't know if that's an axe, or maybe just be some kind of a stick or a chain. I don't know. They look kind of about to get medieval on them, on the cover. So some of those characters do look like I said, you could just pull them right off like a Conan magazine cover or something.
And I think that was his favorite title to draw, from what I understand about him. So
Yeah, I think I was reading some things about him. He actually wasn't a fan of kind of like superhero comics. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, Paul, once again, thanks for joining me. Everybody can look up his info down in the description. Follow him on Instagram. Paul has a pretty awesome collection that he shares over there. So be sure to go check that out. And until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.